All, welcome to Selenium with Java June 2021 morning batch online training session 8. So today's session I will try to cover the first session of TestNG and tomorrow I will cover the remaining portion of the TestNG. So you already got to know what are the different standalone features of Selenium WebDriver, what is Java all about, right? How to create class, object, how to deal with variables, how to deal with input output operation, what are the different ops concepts available in Java, what is the importance of collection framework, right? How with the help of collection framework, how we can handle with the help of collection framework, how you can search, delete, add record, right? So but there are some limitations, right? Suppose say in case I am creating some test script with the help of Java class, whatever you have created, right? So in the Java class, whenever we are creating a Java class, by default definitely we need to select the main functions, right? Otherwise main functions is we are not selecting, it is not possible to execute the test cases or the lines of code, right? So suppose we are setting the properties for the Chrome driver, we are maximizing it, we are opening the Google page, we are identifying the element with the help of Q, and we are trying to get the attribute and name like that, and we are creating the driver. So that was the lines of code we learned in my first session, how to launch the Chrome driver and how to open a web page, how to interact with the different web element, and how to quit the driver. So if we run here from the code from the first session, definitely we will be able to run our code, right, successfully, and definitely it will proceed as per the code written, as per the objective of the code, right, and definitely we will be getting the result. But the main problem is that it will not give us very good result which can be presented to our development team or maybe our leadership team or the client very easily, right? So the kind of report is not very much available in the normal whenever we are creating a class, normal Java class, and we are trying to execute the test case. And also it does not give us more visibility, like how many test cases have been failed, pass, right? What is the exact status? What is the reason it's got failed? Exactly that kind of thing is sometimes not give you. Okay, it's so to avoid this thing, right? We'll need to depend on some framework. We need to implement some framework in our real-time project. So definitely TestNG kind of provides some of the important features, like it has some inbuilt functionality. With the help of that, definitely we can whatever drawback was there in the normal standard functionality, we can avoid it. I will let you know one by one. So in the today's and tomorrow's session, you can get the complete study of TestNG, and definitely you can try practicing the same. So you can see here it is working here, and it is giving the text and part, right, and quitting the browser. So maybe yeah. Okay, and whenever you are creating a project, right, Java class, for a project in the package, and if you try to run it from the right click, you can see here options will be there as Java application, right? The option only is giving us Java application, so you are running it with the help of Java application, right? Similarly here also, if you want to run it, you can run it from here. This is the run button there, right? Okay, so all the classes you can run one by one. If you want to select the run as, is only showing the Java application. But today's session I will try to cover what is TestNG all about, right? How you can install TestNG step by step, what are the different annotations available in TestNG, how to enable and disable test, right? How to prioritize test case and do the sequential execution, what is hard and soft assertion all about, right? How to deal with depends on method and always run attribute along with invocation count, invocation timeout, and skip fail invocation attribute. How we can run multiple test suite in the TestNG from the multiple package and the multiple class at the same time instead of single run one by one. Okay, so let's start. What is TestNG all about? So we already noticed, right, we are running the test cases from the main methods. Definitely main method is mandatory. and we are not able to get after running, right? We are not able to get any kind of positive vibes, right? How many test cases executed, how many test cases passed, failed, summary. It is not able to get it, and we are just able to get the output here based on the whatever thing we want to print it out in the console. Only that part we are getting it. No other information we are getting it, right? So that is the limitations, drawback is there in case we are not implementing any framework. So TestNG, the next NG stand for next generation. It is JUnit inspired open source automated testing framework, providing several features like data-driven testing, parameterization support, different utility annotations, and test case grouping that aid in creating robust and powerful testing projects. So JUnit is an also framework primarily used by the development team for their unit testing, where a TestNG is a framework which covers, not along with unit testing, it covers functional end-to-end and integration testing and regression testing as well. Sometimes we can also perform the smoke testing with the help of TestNG. So TestNG primarily meets all the testing requirement for what kind of testing or whatever as part of functional testing. I am not talking about the non-functional testing like performance, security, stress, all the volume testing. I am not talking about. In terms of functional testing, whatever testing we generally perform, we can do it, right? Right, functional end-to-end, regression, smoke, integration, everything. Using TestNG, user can generate a proper report. User can easily identify how many test cases are passed, failed, and skipped. In case user need to execute the failed test case separately, it is possible to execute. Suppose say in case here you are creating a kind of Java class and your test case is getting failed, so you will not able to see, you will not able to run only the particular failed test case, right? And there will be several challenges there. But in TestNG, suppose say out of 10 test cases, 2 test cases only fail, and if you want to run only 2 failed test cases instead of running all the test cases, TestNG gives that particular feature. So I will be covering in the next session that how we can run only the failed test cases. There will be 2 options. One is kind of with the help of iRetrieval listeners, and another is without listeners. We can run it only the failed test case. Why TestNG is useful in Selenium? Right, the testing framework can be easily integrated with the tool, right? Maven and Jenkins. So TestNG also very much comfortable with these tools, right? So that that is the reason TestNG is very robust in nature. It can generate the report in proper format, including number of test cases runs, number of test cases passed, number of test cases failed, number of test cases skipped, etc. Multiple test cases can be grouped more easily by converting them into TestNG.xml file, in which user can make priority which test case should be executed first. So TestNG, whenever we are creating a TestNG project, definitely the main importance of that TestNG.xml file, I will be showing you one by one how you can create the TestNG XML file and TestNG project. And with the help of TestNG XML file, how you can configure, right, and how you can configure different kind of package or different kind of classes, and how you can run them very easily with right. So there are a lot of apart from that, lot of features is there, like kind of parallel testing. If you want to group some of the test cases, you can do it with. If you want to implement listener class, you will be using the TestNG.xml file. The same test cases can be executed multiple times without loop by just using the keyword invocation count. In the testing, suppose say you want to create the data for using some test cases, right? So you will be running it 100 times. So you need to use a loop, right, if you want to normally execute it. But with the help of TestNG framework, if you there is a annotations available called invocation count. If you use invocation count equal to 100, so it will be run for 100 times. Using TestNG, user can execute multiple test cases on multiple browsers, like cross browser testing is possible. Some of the test cases you can run it I browser, some of the test cases you can run it Firefox browser, some of the test cases you can run it Chrome browser, like that, right? And as well as the multiple OS combination as well, in case we are having multiple OS available, Mac, Linux, or kind of Windows. Lot of annotations available which are very easy to understand, before method, after method, before test, after test. With the name itself, you can get to know the importance of this method, like how it will be impacting your overall testing. TestNG simplifies the way tests are coded. There is no more need for a static main method in our test case. That is the very, very important point. So here, in case you are creating a kind of Java class, right, you can see main method is mandatory. Without main method, if you remove it, you will not be able to run in single lines of code. It will throw some error. That main method is mandatory. But in case you are implementing TestNG framework, right, with your project, for your project, So there is no need of main methods. Without the main static method, you can easily code your test cases, you can easily create multiple test cases and you can run them successfully, right? Uncaught exceptions are automatically handled by TestNG without terminating the test prematurely. These exceptions are reported as failed step in the report. So in the Java class, you already said Java features is as exception handling, right? In case any exception is coming, we can handle it with the help of kind of finally block or try catch block. But TestNG will be not be adding them. In case kind of any kind of exception is coming, we can add, we can maybe sometime we can add some assertion point, and in case we are adding the assertion points, right, it will not stop the execution of the remaining line of code. It will definitely remaining line of code will be executed successfully. Definitely for the hard assertion it will be there. Definitely I will cover it in today's session. What is the difference between hard assertion and soft assertion, and how with the help of assertion, right, we can easily add the validation point, and in case of any failure, only that particular step will be fail, but it will not stop the execution for the remaining line of code. What are the important features available in TestNG? The different type of assertion I already made, right? TestNG is having kind of soft assertion, hard assertion, where we can definitely try to add some checkpoint to check whether the expected result is matching with the expected actual result or not. We can run the test case in parallel with the help of multiple browser OS combination, and it can be method level, class level, and suite level as well. Make test cases dependent to the other. Suppose say I want to make some one particular module to depend on the other module. Suppose say I want to kind of perform some operation for the e-commerce site, right? I want to identify some product, I want to add them to my cart, I want to kind of buy them with some credit card, debit card, or some other internet banking, and after that I want to confirm my order. But your precondition will be that you need to open that application and you log into successfully with the valid credential. Only after that you can do the booking, right? So you can make it dependent of the method, right? So in case if you want to buy some product, your login should be successful, otherwise there is no point of proceeding. So you can add some dependency. Prioritizing tests. Suppose in case you are having 10 test cases, and if you want to execute some test case on priority, right, you can do it priority. Otherwise, sometime in case you are not doing proper priority, so it will take by default alphanumeric priority wise, right? And sometimes your test case can fail because your alphabetic order is not the same, right? Grouping of the test case also possible. Sometimes we can want to group the test cases for the different testing, right? Suppose say you are having 100 test cases, and 100 test cases can be segregated in different ways. Some of the test cases for MOOC testing, some of for functional testing, some of for integration testing, right? Some for the regression testing. So you can make a group, right? That 10 test case is part of kind of MOOC test case, 50 test case is part of regression, 20 test case is part of your system test case, like that. So if you want to just run with the name of group name, you can easily run it, right? So once you do one time, so next time it will be very, very easy. So based on the changes or functionality, you can also name the application name. So what are the test cases is based on the application is getting impacted, you can easily run it. Data driven testing is very, very important, right? With the help of data provider annotation in TestNG, we can perform the data driven testing, right? Reporting. Also, by default, TestNG provides an default HTML reporting, and when still there is an option to customize the reporting with the help of other kind of integrated way, right? We can use report-ng, we can use extend report, but TestNG by default provides some kind of HTML report. Parameterization also possible. Suppose say in case we want to execute some test case with just varying only 1 or 2 data, right? So definitely we can use parameterization, where will be providing for 10 test cases, we will be providing 10 row data, and it will take one by one like that. So definitely only changing one data, we can execute the test case multiple number of times with the help of parameterization. And what is the main difference between the TestNG over JUnit? Sometimes interviewer used to ask the questions, because JUnit is also used by the developer mostly, and whereas TestNG is used by the tester mostly, right? They said JUnit is only primarily for the unit testing, whereas TestNG is for like along with unit testing all kind of functional testing, right? Regression, system test, MOOC test, integration test, everything. TestNG supports definitely all the annotations, but TestNG support few more annotations along apart from that annotation which is supported by JUnit, like before after show, before after test, and before after good. This is the additional annotation supported by the TestNG. TestNG does not need to extend any class. In TestNG, it is possible to run Selenium WebDriver test case in parallel, but JUnit does not have this feature. Grouping is not possible in JUnit, whereas TestNG provides that features. TestNG allows user to determine the dependent test cases. Each test case is autonomous to another test case, whereas JUnit does not have this feature. How to install TestNG in your Eclipse project, and after that how can you associate it with your existing project, and after that how you can create a TestNG class, and then you can do some coding, and how you can create or convert a normal project to a TestNG project, and with the help of that project how you can create the TestNG.xml file. I will cover one by one. So how we can install the TestNG? So suppose if you already open your Eclipse, if you go to the help options, there is a option called Eclipse Marketplace. If you click on that options, sometime it might take some time to do it. Here, if you in the find option, if you search TestNG, and if you click here, after that your TestNG, that part will be coming here, that part will be coming here. So it is already installed my system, that is the reason I am not installing. Just enter TestNG in the find search box and click on the search button. So TestNG for Eclipse option will be coming it. You need to install it so that it will be installed for your system, and if you go to the install part, so it is already installed for my systems. So if you click here, you can find it, so that is installed my system. So otherwise, definitely you can easily install enter TestNG in your search box, press on the search icon, and if you can get it, and just click on that install icon, it will be installed. So sometimes after installation you need to restart your Eclipse. You can close it and you can open it again. Okay, so that's way you can install your Eclipse in your system. Once it is installed, you need to associate the TestNG in your project, otherwise you cannot get all the features from the TestNG. So I will whenever I will be covering the Maven, I will show you there is no need to download any kind of jar files or need to associate anything. Instead of that, we will be adding everything as part of dependency, form.xml file as a dependency, But like here, let's try to cover it here. If you search with the TestNG, you can find the TestNG is already installed in my system, TestNG for Eclipse, but that one, So you need to search here and you need to install it. So it is already installed. That is the reason it is already. You can see that is option is coming here, So let's cancel it. And otherwise, there's option in case how you can find out if the TestNG install or not, So if you click on that file new, and if you go to the other here, and from here, if you search TestNG, you can find. In case it is installed, you will file with that folder, and there is provision to create TestNG class. In case it is not installed, you will not file in that folder. So that's why also you can get to know whether the TestNG has been installed or not. Then how you can associate TestNG to your project? Select the project, right click here, go to the properties section. You need to go to the Java build path, and you need to click on the add library. Here you will find the TestNG once it is installed in system TestNG, and click on the next and finish. So once it is installed, once it is associated your project, so apart from that one, you will finding that folders will be associated. So you will be getting it, TestNG, that versions, all the classes, everything will be there in that packages. So you will be getting it. Now once it's done, TestNG is installed in your Eclipse and TestNG associated for a project, you can select your package, any of the package, and you can right click here. You can click on the new. Instead of Java project, Java class, we'll be creating a TestNG class. Click on the other. Here select TestNG here. So you can easily find the TestNG class. Select the folder, select that class, and you will click on the next. And here you can see package name is by default, source folder is by default. And here you will not able to see any main method, okay. Instead of that, you can able to see the annotations by default. So I will be not selecting an annotation for now, and you can also for getting an option for XML suite file. I am not putting anything here right now, just I am changing my class name, Season 8 TestNG. So you can easily understand it, That is my class name. I am only giving. This is my package name. This is my folder name. I am not selecting any annotation. So definitely by default there is no main class available, right? Main method available. That is the beauty of TestNG. You no need to call any test method, and if you click on finish, right? So by default, right, one @test annotation will be created here. You can see that is the class name, and @test annotation is coming. From where it is coming? It is coming from the org.testng annotation packages. And here by default, one your method is created, public void, method name is by default app. You can change the method name, suppose say test, right? And if you want to run your first code, right, you can run it with the help of SYSO method. Suppose say my first test ng project, right? Let's try to run it and let's see the differences between Java classes and the TestNG class. Java class you are not able to see anything, right? All test, fail test, summary, right? You are just only able to see the whatever you want to see print in the control. But if you here options you will be getting is, if you want to run it, you will be getting the option as, please be remember this thing, sometime interviewer can ask you this question, only Java application. But as and when you have created TestNG class, right, if you want to run them, right, you can see you will be getting options called TestNG test, not Java application. That is the difference. And if you want to create a testng.xml file, and if you want to run your test cases from the testng XML file, you will be getting option testng suite. So that is the three different applications. If it's Java project, only Java application will be coming. If you want to run a testng classes, from that class level you will be getting a testng.test, and if you want to run your testng classes from the testng XML file, you will be getting testng suite. Okay, so let's try to run it with the help of testng test. You can see definitely it will be printed, that part based on the consoles part you will be writing, right, my first testng project in the console here. Apart from that, lot of things you will be getting it. You can see detected testng version 6.14.2, and you can getting it, right. Apart from that, lot of things you are getting, right. Default suite, total number of test cases run 1, failure 0, skip 0, like that, right. And you can see the pass. What is pass? The test. What is test? Is the method name. And here in the right hand side, in the right hand pane, you can see test one of one methods first. What is the total time taken? It's got, it's 63 kind of millisecond, right? 0.063 second. And what is the default suite name? Suite name is default suite test name, and this is your class name, package name dot class name, training is my package, and session 8 testng is my class name, and this is my method name, right. And you can see green sign in case it is passed, and it will be red sign with cross mark, right, in case it is failed, and it will be yellow sign with the cross mark, it is skipped, right. And here you can see default run one by one, right, like that. So that is the different thing, you will be getting it now. And now here you can see there is no folder, right, created. But if you refresh your project, you will be finding some sort of folder additionally. Just click on the refresh it. Okay, you can see there is a folder created automatically, test output, right, test hyphen output. And if you open here, you can find lot of default part is created, right. So there is a fail.png, is pass.png, right, kind of index.html, all the thing will be created automatically. So if you want to click on the index.html, so you can also get in holistic pictures, how many test cases run and how many test cases failed, everything, what is the total time taken, you can also get it. So that is the beauty of TestNG framework, right. You can see if you expand it, right, that is the suite levels, that is the titles of the class, everything you can get it from that one. Details levels of the TestNG. So now if you want to kind of see other part, right, if you want to see how many test cases failed, so you can only just need to click on the TestNG XML, TestNG hyphen dot fail XML, and if you run it, only the failed test case will be running it, right. So that is the part. Another emailable report.html, where you can get the overall report. You can open it with any of the format, right. I can open it with the browsers or HTML editor or general text editor or normal text editor, right? So if you open it with the help of HTML text editor, you can see here emailable-report.html, right? It will give you a holistic picture that how many test cases also pass, fail, like that. So let's open it. Yeah, you can see here total summary. You can also get it. Emailable report. Yeah, that is your class name, right? Package name dot class name, or that is the method name test, right? So that's why you can also get the different part of from the TestNG report, which is available in the test once you run it. But every time if you run it, your test output folder will be changing based on the latest run, so it will not keep any history, right? So that is the concept of first how you can install TestNG, how you can associate a TestNG. Then the main important advantage is there are a lot of annotations available in the TestNG, and with the help of annotations we will be calling the annotations and we will be trying to execute our test case based on the annotation. So what is annotation, right? So annotations is a tag or metadata data that provides additional information about the class, interface or methods in TestNG. Annotations are used to keep the structure of the test cases. This annotation invokes the method according to the invocation time, right? So at the rate test annotations marks a method as a test method. So in case you are creating multiple at the rate test annotations, so each and every at the rate test annotation will be considered a test case, right? So in case you are using it for 3 times, so it will be considered as 3 test case. So definitely your method name should be unique in nature, right? So suppose say I can give it TestNG1, method name test1 and test2, like that. So it will be fine. It will not throw any error, right? But your method name should be unique, and definitely your body does not matter. It will not check. It will check in the compile time, right? So you can update it, right? My second TestNG project, my third TestNG project, like that. Okay. Now if you want to run it, so you'll be seeing it will consider 3 test case. Each and every annotation with the help of at the rate test annotation will be considered a test case. So let's run it and let's see what is the output. It is started. You can see here, right? Test 1 of 1 method 3, and here you can see total number of run is 3, failure 0, skip 0, right? If you open go up here, you can see this is the output and passed 1 2 3. This is the method name got passed successfully, right? So that's why at the help default shoot, right? Okay, default test total run, you can get the result here, and here also you can get it, right? Test method, test 1 method, test 1 2 method, and each and every time for each and every method. If you click on that fail some test, so definitely no test case has been failed. In case any test case is failing, you can get it from the details here. If you want to see the summary, you can see it here from, right? Total number of class count, total number of method count, you can get it, right? So that is the beauty of here. Passed is 3, failed 0, skip 0. So that is the objective of test annotation. So apart from the test annotation, there are a lot of annotation: before class, after class, before group, after group, before methods, after methods, before test, after test, before shoot, after shoot. So before group, after group, I will cover in my next session, because I will be dealing with group in my next session. But before classes, so that annotation methods will run only once before the first test method in the class is invoked. So it is class level. So in case you are having only one class, so it will be run once before the class is invoked. And similarly, after class also it will run once only after the test method in the current classes have been run completely. Group also similarly, in case you are dealing with multiple groups, so this can be configured here. Before group, this list of groups that can be configured method will run before. This method is guaranteed to run shortly before the first test method that belongs to any specific group is invoked. Similarly, after group also same way, it will be after that. Before methods, the annotated methods will be run before each test method. So in case you are having 3 methods, so it will be run 3 times before the method got invoked. Similarly, after method also, it will be after the methods, means after the test 1, right? Test 1, test 2, test 3, whatever method name we are giving it, right? Right, this is the method name we are giving it, so it can be run. Before test means how many at the rate test annotation we are using it. So it will be run based on that, right? So before test will run every time and after test will run every time after the test method is run. Before shoot, right, it will be run only once. In case you are having multiple classes, but it will be running only once for all the classes, because in TestNG there is a provision to run multiple classes from the multiple package. But your shoot, before shoot will run before anything started, and after shoot is run after everything completed from that particular project, right? So let's try to implement it, right? Some sort of before shoot, after shoot, like that. At the rate
Hello,
yes,
Aradhan, I have some doubt actually.
yeah, tell me.
Hello. Yeah. So while we using that actually before and after in the test changes, so what is the use of that one? So before and after for any class or suit, any group and all.
Yeah, because suppose say at the rate test annotation you want to deal with multiple web page, right? So every time you need to set the browser properties, right? And every time you need to quit the browser, so that before test you can set up the properties for the browser, so that browser will open, right, and browser will maximize, right, until that page. And in the test case itself you want to deal with that is the URL I want to pass, and that is the performance I want to perform. And after test you can do that, you just want to quit it, so there is no need to write that code multiple times, right? So before test and after test will handle this thing. It will open the browser till that part, it will cover by the before test, and after test it will cover the quitting part. And whatever test case you want to write at the test introduction, you will be writing it. I will be showing you one by one. Similarly, before class, if you want to do it something as class level, you can do it. Before shoot, if you want to print something before running any shoot, right, the shoot name or something, you can do it. Before method, before test, before class, everything will be similar way. So here at the rate of before shoot, so I will be creating any kind of method here. So suppose the method name I am giving as before shoot, b shoot, okay, and here I can give it like that, not that one is required. Annotations, then you need to give that particular method name, right? And here within the second bracket you need to do it. Suppose say before shoot, I want to print it before shoot distance. I will be showing you one by one how it will be impacted. Okay, you need to import before shoot from your at org.testengine.annotation, right? Then go with after shoot. So I can change it. After shoot, here I can change it to after shoot, a shoot, TestNG after shoot. So also I need to import it from the org.testengine annotations. Then similar way I can implement before class, after class. So it will be b class method name TestNG before class, after class. I need to import the relevant from my before class from the annotations. Similarly, after class from the annotations. I can also call before method, after method, right? Before test, after test. So similar way I can do all these things before test, after test. So this will be not be considered as the test cases, right? Please remember. This will be your precondition. So only at the rate test annotation will be considered as your test case. I will be showing you in the real time example so that you can get to know easily. Okay, so that are the method I have written here. I have annotation I have used from TestNG for now. Okay, so before shoot, after shoot, right? Before class, after class, before test, after test, and few of the test annotation at the rate test. So each and every whenever I am creating any test annotation at the rate test annotation, so it will be considered as a test cases. But those are not considered as a test case. These are the preconditions I can give it. Suppose if I want to run something before anything is running, so I can give it before shoot. And if I want to run anything before every classes, so here only one classes session test engine, so it will be run only one time. After that, before test and after test, it will be running for each and every test annotation before and after. So let's try to run it and let's see what is the output is coming. So it will still consider 3 test cases before, as at the rate test annotation has been considered 3 times, right? Let's try to run it first and let's see. Then after that I will be give you some real time examples how it actually you can then easily understand it. So it is running. You can see still total number of test cases is 3 run, failure 0. Here if you see here 3 test and test 1, test 2, but here you can see lot of things displayed, right? So you can see before shoot is coming, before anything is running, because it's shoot level. Shoot means you can see, right? It's multiple test cases, multiple test classes. So shoot is first priority. So how it will be running? It will be running based on that order. So first will be before shoot, then before test, before class, before group, before method, right? And then test, after method, after group, like that. So before shoot is coming first, executing first. Then before test, you can see before test is coming, right? Then before class, then your first test case, right? And then your second test case, then your third test case. After that, test engine after class, after test, right? And you can see there are 3 test cases passed here: test, test 1, test 2, and you can see now it is coming as after shoot. So it is again completing everything. This is after shoot, right? So that is the beauty of different thing. So this is not any test cases, but this is a kind of supporting part. If you want to execute something as your precondition or post condition, you can do it, right? So I'll be showing you in the real time example how it can be included in the real time. Let's comment it out. Suppose say want to open 2 browser as your 2 test case. Suppose say you want to open say a kind of Facebook page as well as you want to open your Google page in 2 test case, right? So suppose say I will be defining here web driver, global driver, right? So that is that part I can define here, right? So I need to import it, the web driver interface from the word.openqt.selenium, right? Then same way I will be using @test annotation, because I will be not creating any main not be using any main method, right? So I will be creating a test case here with the help of test annotation. Suppose say I can give as name as, suppose say a Google page I want to open, so I will be giving the test case method name as Google. And what I want to do, so I already defined the driver as web driver. I want to open the page and I want to quit the page as well. So say instead of that one, I want to, so let's remove the driver, because I already defined the driver as global variable, right? So I am setting the property, I am launching the Chrome driver, I am maximizing the page, I am so I am opening the Google page, and here I can, if I want to print something, I can definitely print it. So ISO, right? The title of the page, driver dot get title. I can get the title. After that I can quit the browser, right? Driver dot quit. So that's why I have written a test case. Similar way I'll be writing another test case, same way, right? So suppose say I want to open my another page, suppose say git page, right? GitHub one. So I'll be giving that URL here. So I can create my test case as GitHub, okay, and here I'll be providing that URL. Okay, so that is the two test cases I have written with the help of @test annotation, right? Now if you want to run it, you can easily run it. Okay, it will be running. So it will be go based on the alphabetical order. So it will so Google GitHub will run first because G is same order, then I is coming first instead of O, right? So that test case will be running first. So it will be go on the alphabetical order. So you can see first your Chrome browser will be open and then GitHub URL will be open here, right? It is opening. And it will load your GitHub page and it will quit the browsers, right? First GitHub is open because alphabetical order, G is same order, so there is no problem, but I is coming before O. So Google GOO and GitHub GI. So that's why it will be executed. So once the page is fully loaded, it will quit the browsers. After that again it will open a browser, new browsers, right? And it will open the Google page. Once let's wait for a couple of seconds to fully loaded and it will quit the browser. Okay, quitting the browsers, you can see that is the output is coming GitHub where that is the your titles. Again it will open the another browsers because already quitted. Still working. Okay, you can see here your project is green status, right? GitHub method was already successful, right? In the right pane, one test out of one successful and it is opening the another one. So it will open the browsers, maximize the browser, it will provide the URL for Google page. Once the page is fully loaded, it will quit the browsers. Okay, so it is quitting. So both my test case has been successfully passed, right? So you can see two test case has been passed. GitHub alphabetical order is coming, and here if you want to see the output for it, right? One is the Google for the second test case, it's passed also, right? And it's also passed. So to run is first successful. Okay. Now say what the problem will happen. So you can see, one second, let me comment out this code, first lines of code here, and I'll be doing the same thing. Okay, so I have just kept a backup of this code here. Okay, so these are the two lines of code here, right? We have written and we have executed it. Okay, you can see out of these two lines, some of the lines are common, right, in the both the part. So we are setting the properties, we are maximizing the browser, that part is common in both the test case, and the quitting part is common. So why I will be writing the same test cases, same step in multiple test cases required. So instead of that, we will be creating a common functions, right? Common part, which will be prerequisite of the test case, that part, right? And here also that part I'll be post prerequisite. So that is the reasons, right? Sometime I can create a @test before test, @after test, before class, after class, like that. So suppose say I'll be creating here a annotation before test, so it will be executed before every test case is run, right? So that is the beauty. So I'll be copying that one, before test. Okay, before test part and after test part, so that the before test and after test I'll be copy pasting here. So the common part I'll be writing it here. So before test, I will be giving at setup, method name as setup. So it will be setting up, right? And here I will be removing out. And here after test, I will be giving the method name as tear down. So it will be closing the browser. So that is the generally syntax we need to use in the real-time framework. Tear down. Let's remove it. So what is the common part here? So I already defined a global variable driver. So common part, let's cut it, right? Because for setting the driver and maximizing it, this is the common part. So I am cutting it from here, right? And I am just simply pasting it in my before method part, right? I want to set it up before test. So it will be set up every time. For the every test I will be running. And after method I will be running it, that one. I want to quit the browser every time. I am also cutting it. And I am pasting it at that point. So other thing, whatever I will be doing it, I will be also removing the same common part from the other test case as well. Okay, and also that other part. So you can see the code complexity got very reduced, right, with the help of the precondition and post condition. I am just only writing the main objective in the test cases, and the before configuration or tear down I will be writing in our before test and after test method. Okay, now it will behave the same way, but you can see lot of coding part has been reduced, right? Suppose say instead of your Chrome driver, if you want to run with Gcode driver or iDriver, you can simply change it here in the setup method. So you no need to write the same line of code into other test case. And if you want to add one more test case, right? Suppose say I want to add one more test case called Facebook. I'll be adding it only one more test case here. So Facebook. Okay, and I'll be just providing the URL. So there is no need to set up any driver details, right? Suppose say Google already opened, Facebook and GitHub. So let's just copy paste that part. So it will open, create another one more test case for Facebook. So that is the beauty of this different annotation. Okay, let's try to run it now with the help of test-ng test. So it will run based on the alphabetical order. So F definitely coming first. So Facebook page will be executed first, then GitHub and then Google. It will coming on the alphabetical order. You can see it is opening. So it will open first the Facebook page. So if everything it will be based on the alphabetical order. You can see Facebook is opening first. And it will quit the browser once it is opened successfully. Because tear down method I have given as quitting it, right? So after that GitHub page is opening. Sometime it can be fast, you will not able to see it, but it is getting quitted. Okay. Then GitHub page once fully loaded, it will be quit browser and it will open another thing and it will go for the last one with Google. Right, you can see Google will be opening now. So that way, instead of hard coding all the lines of code, we can also add the precondition and post condition as and when required, either through before methods or after method, before class, after class, all this stuff. Okay, you can see the same way it works. So first it go print out is the Facebook titles, then GitHub title, and now you can see total number of test cases run is 3. So it will be based on the method, right? Okay, and you can see this is the method name, alphabetical order, how much time it takes for each and every test case. There is no failure, and if you go to the summary, you can find from one single class's total method is run is 3. Is it clear, Abhishek? And that way execution sequence will be there. Is it clear or still any confusion?
One doubt is there.
Yeah, tell me.
In the code actually you have mentioned that before test. So why didn't you mention like before shoot actually in the code?
No, I can mention it. So before shoot will be only executed one time, shoot level.
Okay.
Because I want to execute every time for the test level, right? Or method level. So definitely I will be using before method or before test. Otherwise, it will be only open the browser one time. After that, rest of the test cases will not be executed. It will be quitting the browser. Unless you are having the browser, how can you execute it? The remaining page. right? So try to understand the objective for each and every method, right? So before class, before test, the annotations will run before any test method belonging to the classes run at the inside test annotation. So it will be run every time. And before class it is only one time. Before shoot and after shoot. Okay. So that's why either you need to use before method or before test, after test, like that. So definitely it will be based on your requirement. Okay. And that is the sequence here. So that it will help you to understand the logic, right? So that's way different lot of annotation we can use it, and it is, you can see, it is very easiest way I can, instead of creating a method, right? Because this is already inbuilt annotation, so there is no point of creating new methods. So I'll be simply using those annotations and I'll be calling those, and definitely each and every time those pre-condition and post-condition getting executed, and whenever I'll be using test annotation, so that will be considered as test cases, and I can write so many lines of code whatever is required, right? Then the next one is enabling and disabling the test. Okay, why it is required? So suppose say I have written so many lines of code, I can comment it out in case it is not, I don't want to execute it, right? But sometimes it is not a good practice to comment it out, right? So sometime we can, if you let's keep all our code written, and if you do not want to execute a particular test case, we can make them disabled. Okay, we can make them disabled. So how we can make them disabled? Okay, so there is some syntax available in the TestNG framework. You can see TestNG provides an attribute for enabling and disabling our @test. There are many times when user do not want to run a particular test cases, and it's not better way to remove the whole test method from the class and then add again in case user want to run that test again. Okay, so you can use it, that option, right? Within the test annotation we can use enable equal to false if we do not use to execute it, right? Or if we don't want to execute it, either we can make it enable equal to true, or in case we are not adding anything, so by default it will be enable equal to true, it will take, right? So in case you are using @test annotation enable equal to false, right? The method, that particular methods will not be run. It will simply skip or ignore the method and execute next one. Okay. In case we do not want to execute it, so either it will be using @test enable equal to true, or it will give you blank, right? So that's why I can enable something or disable something. So here in case we did not give anything, right? Let's remember only @test annotation, because each and every @test annotation will be considered as a test cases, right? And the before one, after one is not the test cases. It is just a precondition, right? So suppose say if I don't want to execute the Google, so I'll be using enabled equal to false. Okay, so that will be not be executed. In case you are not giving anything, so definitely by default it will be executed, or you can check, give it also true equal to. So here 3 test case, right? So for one test case I have given enable equal to false, one test case I have given enable equal to true, one test case I did not given anything. So what will be my impact? So definitely Facebook test case will be executed because I did not mention anything. So by default it will take enable equal to true. Okay, second test case I have given enable equal to true, so definitely it will be executed because I want to enable it for the execution. And for the first one I have given enable equal to false, so definitely that test case will be not be executed though everything was there. So I am disabling it from the execution, so it will not be executed. Okay, now let's run it and let's see. So here though 3 test cases there, only 2 test cases will be executed. That Google part will not be executed because I have made enable equal to false. So that is the beauty of this. That's why how we can make enable and disable, right? A test cases. So by default TestNG considered enabled equal to true if user do not provide one. @test denoted with enabled equal to false will be ignored from the shoot, not skipped. It is an optional parameter. Okay, it is not mandatory for TestNG to run enable equal to true methods when this method depends on the other method. So in case if you any dependency is there, maybe we can also sometimes we can use it. So let's try to run it and let's see whether the test case is getting disabled here from the execution. So here out of 3 test cases, 2 test cases will be executed. So first Facebook will be executed here definitely by default based on the alphabetical order. Okay. Then GitHub and then Git, then Google, but Google page will not be executed because we have disabled it, enable equal to false. So Facebook page is fine loading, GitHub is loading, then it will quit the browser. It will not go for the Google part because we have disabled. Okay, you can see it's quitting, right? And 2 tests is getting executed, 2 method is getting executed, right? One by one. Okay, method is 2. Okay, so that will be completely ignored, right? That is the beauty of enabling and disabling. Now if you want to execute again, so you need to remove that part, enable equal to, you can remove it or you can either make it true. So it's better that in case if you want to execute it, so remove that part. So it will be again executed. That's why you can make a particular test enable and disable. Then the next one is the priority, right? Why the priority is required? I was giving, right, whenever I am executing, so by default those are executing, right, with the priority. Okay, so alphabetical order, first F then G, right, and here both are G, so it is coming as GI, GitHub and then Google. But suppose say I want to run my execute Google first, then how I can do it? So I can add one parameter called priority. So I can prioritize the test case. Which test case I want to priority first, right? Otherwise, sometime your test case you have written all the code, but your test case can fail. Suppose say you have written your test cases for multiple pages, right? So one is the login page, one is kind of searching product, one is kind of booking the product, one is kind of payment, and one is the quitting, right? So suppose say your name login, right? And if you are kind of booking something, so you will be naming with booking. So as and when your method name will be booking. So here first what will happen, it will try to execute with the alphabetical order, so booking will be executed first, but everything will be failed because until you are opening your page and you are logging into the system, logging into the application, how you can search and book your product? So then your test case will be failed. So that is the reason. Maybe for the booking method I can priority to 1. I mean for the login one I will priority give the priority 1, and then searching one I will priority 2, then booking part I can give the priority as 3, and payment I can give the priority 4. So it will go and the based on the priority I am giving instead of the default priority based on the alphabetical order. So that is the beauty, I can give the priority. So in any automation project, most times testers are required to configure test suite to run test method in specific sequence, or user must give some precedence to certain test method over other. TestNG allows user to handle scenario like this by providing a priority attribute within @test annotation. By setting the value of this priority attribute, user can maintain order of the test method as per their need. Here you need to simply give a priority equal to value, right? So for that value can be 0, any positive value and a negative value. So how it will be defined? So negative will be executed first, then 0 and then positive. But in the real time we do not give anything, it's a negative. Okay. So we can give 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Okay. So priority that exactly should need to be matched, right? So in order to achieve, user need to add annotation @test priority equal to that, right? In case user do not mention the priority, by default it will take the priority as 0, and once the priority is same, so it will take the again alphabetical order. In case priority is different, so it will try to execute first based on the priority. In case priority is same, again it will go the alphabetical order, right? If user define priority equal to any positive integer value, this test case will be executed only when all the test case which do not have any priority, as the default priority will be set to 0. Suppose say I am giving any priority, anything priority to 2, right? Other test case I am not giving any priority. So other test case will by default take the priority as 0, just like the enable equal to true. So that is the default setting in TestNG. So whenever I am giving 2, so that will be executed later because the other will be 0, and in case same priority, so it will be go again in the alphabetical order. Negative priority is also acceptable. However, user can provide an integer value to the priority including 0. As default, it will be 0, right? There may be chance that method may contain same priority. In those cases, test-ng consider the alphabetical order of the method whose priority is still same, right? And in case if you want to give any priorities, kind of any decimal value or float value or a string value, it will not consider. Or if you change that priority equal to capital word, it will also not consider, right? Eclipse will throw some compilation error. So here, suppose say 3 test cases there. One test case I want to give the priority, right? Suppose say priority equal to, suppose say 2 I am giving. So what happened? So other 2 test cases is that's why I can give multiple kind of condition, right? In the test error. So enable equal to true, I want to execute it, and I am giving the priority equal to 2. So other test case will be having same 0 priority because I did not give any priority. So then those test cases will be executed first your Facebook based on the alphabetical order, then Google, and then the other test case will be priority 2 because those are the test cases are 0 priority, right? Let's try to run it and let's see how it is behaving. So that is the reason priority is very important in your real-time framework as well. Suppose in case you are alphabetical order is not matching, you please do define your priority so that it will be run based on the sequence you are giving. You want to execute it. Otherwise, your alphabetical order will create some lot of troubles in the execution. So Facebook is defined, executed, then Google, because those are the default priorities, so it will be 0 priority, and whenever the same priority, it will be based on the alphabetical order, then Google, and then GitHub, because GitHub I have given the priority as 2, so 0 after that 2 it will go. Okay, now you can see the execution is coming, and that is the order. Okay, you can see first Facebook, Google, and then GitHub, right? Same order here also displayed, Facebook, Google, and GitHub, right? Now say I want to change the priority of the other test case as well. So let's remove that part because that I don't want to give it, because by default I will be taking it. Suppose say -2 here I am giving, -2 here, and here I am want to give at suppose say +5, right? So what will be the order? So minus will be executed first, then the plus, then 5. So that's order it will be executed. Now let's try to run it. So first will be Google, then will be my GitHub, then will be my Facebook, because I am giving the priority. I want to execute based on that priority. So it will be executed. So in case you are giving anything minus, so it will be first, then 0, and then the positive one. So Google will be executed first. -1, right? You can see Google is executing. Then your GitHub, then last Facebook, because the priority is 5 is the last one here. -2, +2, and 5. So that's why priority plays a pivotal role in the real-time framework, right? So that you can do based on your sequencing whatever order you want to execute it. And you will quit the browser and you can see the other way from the priority order. So last one is the Facebook, because it is priority is 5, so you can see the same order, Google and then GitHub and Facebook, right? So I have mentioned the priority only can be negative, positive, or 0. In case you are not giving any priority, so by default it will be 0. And if you want to give anything called decimal, so it will throw some error, you can see here, right? If you want to give something string also, it will give some error. Suppose I want to give something called string, so it will not allow, right? So here it will see the message, priority should be given, right? And suppose say I am giving the priority as word, but if I change that wording, right, priority, suppose small part I am changing it to caps, so it will also throw some error. So priority should be all in lower word, priority, and I can give only the -0 or the positive one. So that's why I can deal with the priority. Any questions? Is it clear? Is it clear, right? Okay. Then the assertions. Assertion why it is required. Suppose our main objective is not to execute the test case to go as per the expectation, right? I will navigate like this step, I will click that one, I will click that one like that, I will fill that value. No. Our main objective is to validate the test case whether it's working as per the expectation or not, right? So that is the reasons. I mean, in the previous one we are using some if else loop to make or we were using some of the important functions, but here in the test engine there is an assertions available, method available, right? So with the help of the assertion we can check whether my code is working fine or not, right? So let's try to execute here one test case here. So remove the priority. So I'll be running only one test case. Let's comment out the other one. Okay, or maybe let's enable equal to false, so that those test cases will not be executed. Okay, so that's why I can make it so that I will be not be executing the other test case. I want to only execute Google page here. Okay, so assertion in TestNG are used to verify whether the test is failed or not in TestNG framework and automation framework also. The test case is considered to be passed only if all the statement in the test case execute successfully, and in case any exception is thrown or expected result do not match with the actual result, and then test case considered to be failed. So there are two types of assertion in TestNG. One is hard assertion, one is soft assertion. So hard assertion we can definitely check it. In case something is failing, it will fail the test case. But the problem is that it will stop the execution from that line of code if you are using hard assertion, right? But definitely I will not want to stop it. Just I want to fail that particular test step, right? Instead of the freezing all my lines of code execution, any lines of code execution. So here let's try to print something. So okay, before any assertion, okay, and here you can give something called after assertion, so that definitely before any assertion, right, any assertion is getting failed, so definitely all the lines of code will be executed. And in case we are using hard assertion, so in case assertion is getting failing, next lines of code will be not be executed. So that is the another drawback of hard assertion. Okay, so how we can do the assertions here? So in the TestNG there is a method called assert equal, not equal, assert true, false. With the help of that we can do some assertion. So suppose here I want to use simply a normal assert, hard assertion. Dot assert, that is the class name. From the assert class everything, all the method will be coming. Dot, you can see if you press dot, you can see assert equals, not equal, all the method will be coming here. So you can check with some integer, right? So assert equal, I will want to check 12 with 10. So definitely it will be failing, right? 12 will not match with 10. So assert is the class available in TestNG, and these are the different methods. So what happened here? So all the line of code will be executed because I am not giving, I am just giving before any assertion. So here assertion is failing. And hence remaining lines of code will not be executed. That's the problem of hard assertion. So whenever we are talking about assert, that is called hard assertion. So that lines, that is not executed, that will be not executed, not be executed, that lines of code. Okay, so let's try to run it and let's see how it is happening. So it will try to launch the Chrome browser, it will open the Google page, it will print out the Google title. After that assertion will fail and it will not run the remaining lines of code. Means the remaining lines of code will not be executed here. You can see here, after assertion it is not getting printed out here in the console. And you can see the test case got failed here. So in case any method is failed, your class will be failed, your test will be failed, and shoot level will fail. You can see. Now if you click on the failed test case, you can found the details, right? The test case got failed. Okay. And if you go to the summary, you can see one test case will be failed, right? Total number of test cases. Why the test case is failed? You can get it here, right? Total method will give you. And as and when any test case is failed, the remaining line of code will be not. You can see before assertion and Google it's working fine, right? The title and that part work. After any assertion, that part is not executed, and it is got failed. Why it is failed? It is not matching. Okay, and if you don't want to check the consoles, right, you can see one test case, one failure. How can you get it? The details. So click on the test, all test. Click on the method, whatever is got failed, right? There's a thing. Right click, select, right click here, copy the testng message and print, save in some notepad, so that you can get the details of the message. So that's way testng also provides very important way, right? You can see the message is coming, and if you want to check the details, so you can go to the testng trash. Okay, you can see all the details. So no need to rely on only on the console part, so you can get the error details from here. Okay, so that is the hard assertion. So in case of anything is failure, so it will stop the execution. So definitely will be not be going with the hard assertion. Instead of that, we can use the soft assertion, right? So deal with the disadvantage of hard assertion. Customized error handles are provided. The testng is called soft assertion. So soft assertion allows user to have multiple assertion within test methods. Even when the assertion fails, the test method will continue with the remaining test execution, right? So that is the beauty. So we need to create an object orientation for the soft assert class, then we need to use it. So the remaining line of code will be executed, and in case any of the failure, but this case will be overall fail. Okay, let's try to use it. Let's try to create a class here for the soft assert. So SA equal to new soft assert. So this is the class available in testng soft assert as well. So I need to import it. So we need to import it. SA dot assert, you can see, right? Assert equals method, everything is coming now. Same way, right? Whatever we are doing. So I can check anything, whether double is matching or kind of expected matching, whether it is delta load or stuff. So assert dot assert equal, now I want to check whether 12 is matching with 8. So it will be failed, right? But still my next line of code will be executed because I am using soft assertion. But here test case will not be failed, though I have used soft assert equal. Why it is not failed? Because whenever you will be using soft assertion, you need to at the last you need to use assert call, all method you need to implement. So let's do not use that method and let's see. So here it is getting failed, right? But still test case will not be failed because we do not use assert all method. Let's try to run it and let's see what is the impact. So you need to remember three different things. One is hard assertion, which is assert class, normal class. Generally we should not use it because it will stop the execution as and when it is failing. It the remaining line of code will not be executed. Then soft assertion. First we need to create an object orientation for the soft assert class, and with the help of object we can just add some assertion. And at the last we need to use assert all method. Otherwise it will not be failed. You can see test case is getting passed, but here it is got failed, right? So it will not be considered. So we need to use at the last assert all, so that it will be used, right? So I will be using assert all, SA dot assert all at the last. Okay. So how can I do it? I will be using that one, SA dot assert all. That is the method I need to call at the last of the line of the code for the particular class. So that now test case will be failed, but remaining line of code will not be problem. It will be executed. All the code will be executed. Only that particular line it will be failed, and overall test case result will be failed only. So that is the three concepts you need to remember. One is the assert class, which is the hard assertion. One is the soft assertion, is that you need to create an object for instance, and at the last you need to use assert all method. So you can see before any assert, after any assert, everything is there, right? All the lines of code executed, and test case is getting failed because of the error, right? So after any assert is also executed. Though it is getting failed, still remaining line of code is executed and this is getting failed because it is not matching match. Expected was 8, actual was 8. This is the failed because okay. So that's why you can use the assertion in the real time. Any questions? Is it clear? Two assertion, and whenever you are dealing with soft assertion, please be sure that you are creating object, for instance, you are adding some more assertion and you are using at the last of the step assert all, so that your definitely assert will be fulfilled and your test case will be failed, but you will not stop any execution for the remaining line of code. Okay. So depends on method attribute in TestNG. Suppose say I want to make something as dependent, right? I already mentioned. Suppose I want to buy some product, right, from the e-commerce site. So definitely I need to search the product. First I need to log into the application, right, and then I need to search the product, right, and then I will be adding them to the cart and booking and with the payment. But in case my searching product is not there, how can I book it? My login is successful, how can I book it? So that is the reason I can add some dependency, right, for a particular test case, right? So dependency is a feature in TestNG that allows a test method to depend on a single or a group of test method. This will help in executing a set of test case to be executed before a test method. Method depends only work if dependent method is part of the same classes or any of the inherited base classes. Okay. So depends on method we can use it. On a test method we can use multiples also dependency for a test cases, right? So suppose say okay, here I want to add the dependency for here. So how I will be using it? Suppose say I want to run only GitHub in case Google is successful, right? In case Google is not successful, definitely that test case will not be run. Okay, so 3 test cases was there, 1 test case still will be false, enable equal to false, that will not be executed. So I will be using depends on method, depend. Okay, if you do not know the exact term, just enter the depends and press enter, right? So depends on method will be coming here. So here you need to give the method name equal to, then double bracket, and then within double quote method name. Suppose say depends on method I want to run only in case Google is successful, because Google will be alphabetical order first. So in case it is successful, then only my methods will be other GitHub will be executed. In case it is not failure, so it will be skipped. So that's why I can add some dependency. So here now it will be executed because the first test case is not getting failed here, right? So it will be also executed, it will be also passed status. Try to execute it. In case if you want to add multiple dependencies, so you can just use comma sign and you can use. So suppose say your payment will be depend on your login successful as well as product search, then only it will be successful. So that's why you can make it. In case if you why it is required, suppose say you don't want to fail the other test case, because there is no point. In case my precondition is not getting failed, there is no point of failing the test case. Instead of that, I can skip the test case, right? So that is the reason. So dependency is used. You can see here, right? Before any assertion that is executed, then the title is coming and then GitHub is coming, right? So that's why you can give it any kind of stuff. Okay. Now say whatever method is dependent, right? Google that GitHub method Google is dependent. Let's fail the Google, right? Suppose say I want to fail with the hard assertion. So that test case will be failing. So definitely in case it is failing, so what happened? So my dependent test case will be not be executed, it will be skipped. It will not be ignored, but it will be skipped. So that is a way in TestNG you can skip the test case. Okay. So here my first test case will be failed because the assertion is not matching. So whatever other test case is dependent on the first test cases, it will be skipped. So there is no point of failing it because my dependent test case is getting failed. So there is no executing of other test case. So I can skip it. So that is the beauty of depends on method. So in case your previous test case which is dependent on the other test case is getting failed, so other remaining test case whatever is dependent on that one, it will not be executed, it will be skipped. So instead of failure, it will be skipped. Okay. You can see here, okay, one failure, one skip. So total two method. Skip is that you can see the yellow icon with green mark, sorry, cross mark, and fail is the red with cross mark, and is skipped. Okay, here you can see it skipped. So that's why I can skip a test case in case my dependent test case is getting failed, right? You can get the result here because expected was 10 and actually was 12. That is the result is getting failed. So that's why you can make any depends on method. Always run attribute is also linked to that one. In case suppose say my dependent test case still failed, but still I want to execute the remaining one, right? So you need to use always run. So it does not matter whether your dependent test case is getting failed or pass, but it will be always run. Okay, in case always run attribute set to true for any @test annotation, the test method will be always be run executed when the dependent method also get failed or skipped, right? And it will definitely give you the result. It's like that here. I can make it always run with comma sign. Press enter, always run equal to true. So what happened here? Okay, though your dependent test case is getting failed, still your next test case will be executed because I am along with my dependent on method I am also using the always run. So it will be always run. It does not matter whether anything is failed, pass, like that. It will be always run. And based on that output, test case objective, it will be pass or failed. So that is the importance of these two keyword. I mean attribute in the test engine. Depends on method and always run. You can see now Google is also executed, GitHub also executed. So Google test case first test case will fail because the assertion is not matching, but it does not stopping you to execute the other test case. Okay, you can see one test case got passed here. So initially it was skipped, but now it is passed, executed and passed, and first test case is getting failed because of that error. Expected 10, actually is 12. So that's why I can use those two attributes, depends on method attribute as well as always run attribute. Then the next three attributes I will try to cover here: invocation count, invocation timeout, and skip fail invocation attribute. So invocation count is a test ng attribute that defines number of times a test method should be invoked or executed before executing any other test method, right? Suppose say, let's remove this part. Okay, I want to execute that Google page multiple times, right? Suppose say for the test data case you already seen, right? For a particular test case I need to run in multiple times. So I will not be copy paste the same line of code or not creating multiple test cases, right? So instead of that I will be using invocation count here, right? So that the test case will be executed multiple times. If the invocation count is 4, then test case will be executed 4 times before executing any other test method. Suppose say let's give it invocation. Press Ctrl enter, invocation count. Suppose say I will be giving it 3, so that test case will be running at 3. After that other test case will be running here. So 2 test case, because third test case I have make it disabled, enable equal to false, so it will be run 3 times by default, and then another test case will be run. So total iteration will be 4. One test case 3 times and other test case 1 time. So that's why invocation counts plays an pivotal role. In most of the interview questions also people used to ask that how you can run same line of code multiple times without any impactance. So you can see this multiple time is opening, right? 3 times it will be executed. After executing for multiple times, it will go for the next one, next test case. You can see GitHub executed, then Google's, right? Because GitHub is the alphabetical order first, so that is the executed, and Google is alphabetical, and executed 3 times. 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. Total number of run is 4, and failure is 0, right? You can see here. Okay. Multiple times Google has printed. Okay, so that's why I can deal with the invocation count. But here say your test case is failed for the whenever you are adding invocation count, but test case is failed due to some reason. So definitely I don't want, in case anything is failed, I don't want to iterate the repetitive iteration. I don't want to execute the next iteration, right? So that I can skip it instead of fail, right? So suppose say in case your test case is getting failed, so what will happen? All your run will fail, right? Here, if you just do anything. So I want to run it 2 times, but I will be failing the test case, so it will be failing, right? So all your run will fail, okay? 2 times will be fail. But here, in case suppose say in case of any failure, I don't want to run for the next iteration, so I want to skip them. So I will be using skip failed, right? So that's why I can also skip. Here all your iteration will be failed because I did not use that term. So it will be trying to run for 2 times, and 2 times it will fail because the assertion is getting failed. You can see it will try to run 2 times, and 2 times it will fail, and then the other remaining kind of methods will be executed. You can see here both the times failed, right? Google both the time is failed, cross red sign, and GitHub is passed successfully. But in case of any failure, I don't want to execute the remaining times, so I'll be using skip fail execution. So in case of any failure, remaining will be skipped instead of failed. So suppose say I'll be using iteration as 4 or 5, and here I'll be using skipped, right? Skip fail invocations equal to, okay, true, so that remaining 4, 1 will be failed, but remaining 4 will be skipped instead of failing again. Let's try to run it and let's see. You can see here, right? Total run is 2, failure 1, right? And the rest remaining is skipped. Okay, so that is the beauty of that one, right? You can see here total number of right failures, total number of runs 6, failure 1, right? 1 passed, 4 skipped. You can get it. That's all. So that is the beauty of skip fail invocation and the invocation count. And another one, last one, is the invocation timeout. So suppose say you want to execute one few test cases in some iteration, so 10 iteration, and you are giving some invocation timeout. So suppose say you are giving 1 minute. So within a 1 minute your 5 runs will be successful. In case it is not successful, so remaining invocation will not be executed, it will fail the test case. So that is the beauty of that one, invocation timeout. Invocation timeout is the maximum number of milliseconds that the total number of invocation on the test method should take. In case invocation timeout is set for 30 seconds and invocation count is set to 10 times, so each method should all the methods should complete like 10 invocation within 30 seconds. Otherwise, test case will be marked as failed. That annotation will be ignored if the attribute of invocation count is not specified on this method. In case you are not using an invocation count, there is no point of other two method importance, right? It will be simply skipped in case you are also giving it. So suppose say why it is really required. So suppose sometime you want to check like within 5 minutes are you able to run it 10 times or not, right? So you can give some invocation timeout here. So let's try to comment out and let's try to suppose say run for 3 times, right? And you can also give invocation timeout time unit equal to suppose say you can give it in a millisecond, right? Suppose say 30 like that. So it will try to execute in 30 seconds, right? Milliseconds. So I can give it milliseconds. Suppose say 60 seconds. So 6000 milliseconds. So that in case my 3 number of iteration is completing in 30 seconds, so 60 seconds. So it will be fine. Otherwise it will be fail. Okay. So that's why I can give it. So 3 iterations should be successful in 3 seconds. So 60 seconds of time means 60,000 milliseconds. So that's why I can check that how much time it is taking, right? So in case it is not executing within the time, so those will be failed. otherwise remaining will be passed. So each iteration might take some time, right? Maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So in case it's completing in 60 seconds, so it is fine. Okay, here you can see here total number of run is 4, and okay, every time is run 4 here, because it is test run is so, because it is run 3 times, Google is run 3 times, so that is the reason it is fine. Now say, okay, if you want to check the total time here, you can see that is 3958 milliseconds total time, so it's give you only 10 seconds. Okay, 3 run I want to execute, so definitely it will not be possible, it will fail the test case, right? Let's remove that one, skip fail invocation true, because I don't want to skip anything, I want to run it within a 10 seconds time, 3 iteration, so definitely it will not be successful, so it will throw some error. Within 10 seconds, whatever is possible, it will try to execute only. After that, it will not be executed. Okay, you can see it stopped here. It is not doing anything. Okay, it's still doing. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's still passing because it is still checking. You can see here 9 seconds only, so it is still less than 10 seconds, right? So give it to 5 here. Let's see now, because total timeout for this page is 9.073 seconds. So if you give it 5 seconds, so definitely it will fail. So that is the beauty of that invocation timeout, right? So we can check whether my specific execution is successful within the time or not. In case it is not there, so remainings will be failed. So only within the time it will be successful. You can see it's got failed, right? Because within a 5 second, whatever possible it is executed. So 2 iteration executed and 1 iteration got failed. So that's why you can check, right? And what is the failure of result? You can see that is the result failure. So if you select that one, if you go to trasher, and if you want to paste in the notepad, right, you can paste it and you can easily see it, you can analyze the easily result it. Okay, so let's see here, did not finish timeout, right? That is the part is showing. So that's why you can deal with that. Now the last topic for today, how you can run multiple test suite in TestNG using Selenium WebDriver. So here I have already created any TestNG class, right, which is the TestNG class. Let's try to remove that one. So here 2 method is there, right? One is the Google and one is the I want to execute. One is the Google method, one is the GitHub method. The other method I have enabled equal to false. Okay, I will be creating another TestNG class here. Okay, new other TestNG class will be session 1, session 8, only session 8 I am giving, right? Instead of, okay, I am clicking on finish. So here I want to give create any method, suppose state test. Okay, and here I want to print out something like that. Okay, print out class session 8 only. Okay, that is the output I want to print. If you want to run that class here from the class level, you can run it and you can get the output here. Okay, you can see So that's why I can run only one particular TestNG class with the help of TestNG test. But if I want to run it multiples, it is not possible, right? I have to go one by one class and I need to run it, right? I need to run it one by one with the help of TestNG test. Okay, but now there is no TestNG XML file is also there. So if I want to create the TestNG XML file through which if I want to run the multiple test classes at the same time, we can do it. So select the project, right click here, TestNG, and convert to TestNG, so that whole project will be converted to TestNG. So you can see here, so by default suite name here, by default suite is coming because we did not give any suite name. Test name we did not give, only the class name, which is the package name dot class name, and the method name is coming. Right here there is a provision called suite name given it, right? Suppose I am giving is TestNG suite, that part I can update it, right? And name is called TestNG test, I can update it so that it will be updated in my test case also. And here I only want to select few classes, rest of the classes I don't want to select. So these are the classes I want to execute it. Okay, so that's why I can default you can create your class name. So that is the tag, suite tag first. Here you need to give the name, then thread count, test tag. If you want to remove it, you can remove it still, there is no problem at all. So thread will give you multiple threads so that it will be fast tick. And then the classes tag, within the classes tag you need to give class name, which is nothing but the package name dot class name, and you need to end with classes tag, test tag, and suite tag. So that's why you can create your TestNG XML file. If you click on the file, so your TestNG.xml file, you can see that is the extension. TestNG.xml file will be created in the project level, and here the name you can give it, right? Here also suite name, and your automatically it will be updated test name. Okay. And you can definitely go for the relevant test case you want to execute. Now if you want to add few more test case, similarly you can add it in the classes tag, right? Within the classes tag you need to add few more class tag where your class will be package name dot class name. So just click on the finish. So you can see immediately TestNG.xml file got created here, right? And if you open it here, you will be seeing the same thing whatever we have set it during converting our project, right? Okay, everything came, so I can customize it. I can remove this one because I want to execute only TestNG class, right? Because these are the two TestNG class I created today with the help of test annotation, where test annotation is there, right? That is the annotation is there, test annotation, and here also test annotation is there. It will be two test cases. So now if I want to run both the classes, so you can need to convert them in TestNG, and with the help of TestNG.xml file, if you want to run it, so you can make you can see the name also came, right? You can remove the thread count because I don't want to use any thread, single thread will be working. And if you want to run as, you will finding as TestNG suite, because initially if you want to run it with the class level, it will be TestNG test, but if you want to run it with the help of from the TestNG XML file, it will be TestNG suite. Okay, apart from that, without opening, if you select the TestNG.xml file and if you right click here, and if you want to run as same way, you can run it TestNG suite. So both the class will be running. So after running all the method in a class, it will go for the other class and it will run for the all the methods, and you can get the output. So it does not matter how many classes there, even class can be in different package as well. So it will be considered based on the project setting. Okay, so it does not matter whether how many package, how many classes. So you need to give the classes tag. Within the classes tag you need to create a class tag where you need to give package name dot class name. So that's why it will be considered for the execution, and through which you can create execute multiple classes at the same time. Okay, it is opening GitHub, then it is opening the Google. So once it is done, it will go for the other test case as well. Okay, you can see, right, both the test case has been executed. Now you can see that suite name has been changed, not the default suite or default test, right? Suite name is coming from here, test name is coming from here. We can customize our suite name, test name, and this is the package name dot class name. It is coming from here, and the method name is executed right here. Google is the method name, and other is the GitHub. And for the other class, session class 8, right, it is the training.package, say training the package name, and it is executing. So that's why I can execute multiple TestNG classes from the with the help of TestNG XML file. So that's all for today's session. So I will recapture once more time what are the different things covered today. So what is TestNG all about, right? What is useful? What are the important features available? Assertion, different kind of assertion, different kind of you can prioritize the test case, you can group, reporting is also there, right? Parameters and data driven part grouping I will cover in my tomorrow sessions. What is the how we can install TestNG, how we can create TestNG class, right? What are the different annotations available, what the sequence order of annotations, how you can enable or disable test with the help of enable equal to true or false, how you can prioritize the test case with the help of priority, how you can do some hard assertion, soft assertion. In case of soft assertion, you need to create object instance for the soft assertion class, and at the end of the lines of your code, you need to use assert.all method, right? Assert.all method. How you can create make a dependency of test cases. In case if use dependent test cases getting failed, how you can also run the dependent test case with the help of always run attribute. What is the importance of invocation count, skip fail invocation, and the invocation timeout. How can you convert a normal Java project to TestNG project, and with the help of the TestNG XML file, how can you run multiple classes at the same time from different package at the project level. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Thank you.